Blackbird Farm, June 12th, 2014. Mr. James Brown. Who knows? Dear Great Uncle Jim, you know that chicken I told you about? It can use the Force. I would worry that you wouldn't believe me, but I think it used to be yours, so you must know already. Besides, you're dead. First of all, the little chicken house wasn't where I left it last night. It's up on 4 stumps now, and it's stuck on tight. I thought Dad moved it. Mom's working and hasn't been outside in days. And that worried me because I haven't told them a chicken showed up yet. But then I remembered he'd gone to town right after breakfast. Then I realized the door was shut and latched, and I know I unlatched it and left it open last night. That didn't make me very happy. I started looking around for Henrietta, and when I came back around the big junk pile, the door was open. I almost started running right there. Only dumb kids in movies wait around for evil strangers to pick them off. But what about Henrietta? That's what I'm calling her. Hope that's okay. I couldn't leave her behind if there was stranger danger around. There was a noise from the little house, kind of a thump, and I froze. Henrietta stuck her head out the door and hopped down onto the ground, barking and cackling and having a huge old chicken conversation. I tried to shush her as quietly as I could and kept my eyes wide open so I could try and grab her if anything moved at all. She walked over to her jam jar and glared at me and balked some more. And then I guess she got tired of asking nicely. She got real quiet, so I stared at her. And then she glared at the jam jar, which I suddenly realized had tipped over, so there was no more water for her to drink. And, well, I'm just going to say it. The jam jar floated off the ground, sailed over, and landed at my feet. As soon as it landed, she squawked and went back to pecking at the dandelions in the blackberry bushes. I don't know what I was thinking, but when Henrietta looked at me and glared, I grabbed the jam jar and ran for the hose. After I filled it up, I stared at it for a while, in case it was a magic jam jar, but I couldn't make it move at all. I guess I might as well tell you I was kind of afraid to go back. I've read a lot of books about kids who find magic stuff. A lot of scary things happen to them. And I don't even know how to take care of regular chickens yet, let alone chickens with superpowers. I might have freaked out a bit, and wrote to that company you probably got her from. I told them to come get her. But I couldn't leave her out there without any water or anything. Gregory's fast, but the mail is still slow. So I got another apple and picked up the jam jar. I put on my gloves this time, just in case. And I took them back by the little house. Henrietta wasn't hurting anything, or floating anything. She was just scratching in the dirt with her big old scaly dinosaur feet and pouncing on bugs. She didn't even look mad. I gave her the apple and the water, and she had a drink. Chickens look really funny when they drink, like people gargling. I know I'm not a hero. I just moved to a farm and I want to have chickens. But you know what? There are books about kids like me, too. Sometimes they're boring, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes they're sad at the end, especially the ones with animals. But not always. I'm going to write back to that company and tell them never mind. I'll keep her. Then I'll tell Mom and Dad. Only not about the superpowers part. I have to go now. I think I see Gregory coming up the street. Love, Sophie. P.S. I wish you could tell me if you have any tips. I'm pretty sure the library won't have any books on what to do next. Now, this next entry in this book is going to be a little bit hard to read, so I want you to know that it has a lot of random extra slashes and dots and spaces and extra letters in it. Redwood Farm. Send to Sophie at Jim's farm. Sophie. Sounds like one of Jim's that he got from me. Tell me what happened, / Don't let anyone take her or give her to anyone, 773 / And don't tell anyone, no matter what, ... .. Sorry, XXX. Typewriter is broken. ... Agnes. P.S. Be very careful. ... Blackbird Farm, June 14th, 2014. Agnes, Redwood Farm Supply, Gravenstein, California, 95472. Dear Agnes, sorry to hear about your typewriter. It's fine with me if you want to write by hand. Maybe you should print, though, so I can read it. My grandmother's cursive was terrible. No one could read it, so we can't make any of her recipes now. And she's dead. So here's what happened. A little white chicken came out of the blackberry bushes out behind the barn on Great Uncle Jim's farm the other day. She made a jam jar and maybe a little chicken house float. And she can open and shut and even latch the door by herself. She hasn't done anything else yet. Is she going to? If she was Great Uncle Jim's, I think I should keep her. I'm very responsible. Do you have a manual or something? Or special chickens, I mean? On special chickens? I already got a library book on how to take care of regular chickens. Sincerely, Sophie. P.S. She looks lonely. What happened to Great Uncle Jim's other chickens? P.P.S. There's a metal garbage can in the barn that's about a quarter full of seeds and mashed up dried stuff. It says layer crumble on the lid in big black letters. Is that chicken food? P.P.P.S. I saw something black run really fast down the road today. Do you know what it was? Is it dangerous to chickens? P.P.P.P.S. What exactly am I supposed to be very careful of? The chicken? Or the black thing? Or something else? Now there's a page that has an illustration of a chicken, and it looks like it was taken from a library book. It says, Bantam White Leghorn, diminutive height, white plumage, yellow featherless legs and feet, small red single comb, white earlobes, small white eggs, frequent layer, easily able to stand up to standard-sized chickens in mixed flocks. It is not uncommon for this breed of bantam to be the top of the pecking order among milder-mannered breeds. Blackbird Farm, June 14th, 2014. Later, but I have to wait until tomorrow to mail this because Gregory already came. Agnes, Redwood Farm Supply, Gravenstein, California, 95472. Dear Agnes, someone tried to steal Henrietta, a white lady about my parents' age. Dad said she said her name was Sue. She didn't get her, though. Sincerely, Sophie. P.S. Is she going to try again? How am I supposed to protect Henrietta when I go to the library or the grocery store? Blackbird Farm, June 14th, 2014. Mr. James Brown, wherever you are now. Dear Great Uncle Jim, sorry I thought your farm was boring before. I didn't know there were going to be chicken thieves. Agnes from the chicken company wrote me a scary letter earlier, so I decided I'd better get prepared, just in case. Good thing I did. The chicken book I read said that if you want to get your chickens back into the hen house at night, you can throw some treats inside and train them to go after them. It says they like sunflower seeds, and you sure have a lot of those in that trash can in the barn. Why did you keep things in trash cans that weren't trash and keep junk in big piles? Someone could get confused. Anyway, so I put some seeds in a jar, one of those blue ones with an old metal lid, and I put the lid on tight so no squirrels would eat it. I put the jar back by the hen house. Henrietta looked at it, but she didn't float it or anything. The jar was a little dusty, but I think that's okay. After all, she pecks in the dirt all day. And the book says she even eats small rocks to grind things up in her gizzard. See, this is educational. If you weren't dead, I'd have you tell Mom and Dad. Then I put my gloves on and dug around in your workbench until I found an old padlock, hanging open on a hook. No matter how hard I looked, I couldn't find the key, though. Maybe you should have put it on the same hook. Anyway, I took the padlock out and hung it on the chicken coop latch, next to the open door, just in case. Chickens are really funny, and I like your chicken a whole lot, now that I'm used to her. But they aren't very huggable, so I just watched her for a little bit, while she scratched up all the dirt with her toes and put her eyeball right down near the ground to check and see if anything wiggled. I swallowed a few times when I felt sad, and then I walked up to the house. When I got there, a beat-up orange pickup was parked in the driveway with a dog crate in the back, and I heard some woman's voice inside with my parents. I knew it was probably nothing, just some visitor, but that Agnes made me nervous, so I turned and ran back the way I came, just in case. Henrietta saw me coming, and when I threw some sunflower seeds in the chicken house, she flapped up and went in after them. I shoved her water jar inside, too. Then I shut the door, latched it, put the lock through the hole, and locked it. Henrietta didn't like that one bit. She started squawking. The latch rattled, and then the padlock started banging against the latch. Shh, silly chicken, I told her. Agnes said someone might try to take you, and someone's here now. Be quiet like you aren't even there. But I guess she didn't understand me, because she just kept making a racket. Or else she was too mad at me to care. I was starting to feel sick to my stomach. I couldn't stay out there, but I didn't want to talk to my parents or the stranger either. I'm not a very good liar, and my mom is really, really good at telling when people aren't telling the truth. So I went to the barn. I like it there, and I figured I could see if anyone headed for the hen house. I was separating screws from nails into jars on your workbench when they came up the path. I about fainted when I heard voices. But I kept working. I didn't want to look suspicious. Dad stuck his head through the door. "Soph, you haven't seen any chickens, have you?" I tried to look confused. "Around here?" I saw Mom through the doorway. Her eyes narrowed. My stomach felt even worse. But she didn't say anything. The woman behind her didn't look like a chicken thief. She was taller than my mom and really thin, like those people who go to yoga twice a day and don't eat real food. She had brown hair and a tan, almost as dark as me, and she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. She smiled when she saw me, and it wasn't a scary smile, like the ones in movies I'm not supposed to be old enough to watch. I smiled back. "Sorry to bother you," she said. "Some of my chickens got out, and I'm having trouble rounding them up." Maybe your chickens really did get out. Maybe I was just nervous. Or maybe Henrietta really belonged to her. But Agnes told me not to give Henrietta to anyone. And Henrietta was not just a regular chicken. "No problem," I said. "Is your farm around here?" Mom looked back at the woman. "I'm sorry, I didn't even ask you if you were a neighbor. But of course she must be. Which farm is yours?" The woman hesitated, and I saw Mom's eyes narrow again. I told you she was good at this. "Briar Farms is mine, over by the lake. Mostly vegetables and poultry." Dad looked surprised. "That's a couple of miles, isn't it?" Mom shook her head. "I'm sorry about your chickens, but they must be dog food or roadkill by now. How could they have made it this far?" She started to turn back up the path. The woman frowned. "I know it's a long shot, but I'd like to look around just in case." "Sure," Dad said before I could say anything. "Good luck finding them. What kind did you say they were?" The woman was already hurrying down the path towards the hen house. "A mixed flock, all kinds," she called back. Mom was still frowning, looking at me, but when Dad headed for the house, she followed. I watched the lady go and bit my lip until it got all bloody. Then I thought I heard a squawk, and I started running after her. It was a good thing I did, because even though Henrietta was silent when I got there, that lady was holding a screwdriver on top of the padlock and hitting it with a hammer. "Stop!" I screamed. She looked back at me, but she didn't stop. I didn't know what else to do, so I got out my whistle, the one my mom insists I wear everywhere, and I gathered every bit of breath I had left after running, and screamed, and blew that thing. It was a loud one, too. I blew it again and again, just in case the wind was blowing funny or something. That surprised her. She hit the screwdriver at a weird angle and it flew off into the bushes. She glared at me and took off running, the long way that isn't really a path, back around the barn. I think she's been here before. I didn't want to leave Henrietta, so I didn't run after her. I was just standing there when Dad ran into the clearing and grabbed me so hard he almost knocked me down. "Are you okay?" he shouted. "Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. The lady was breaking and entering," I explained. Dad stared at me. "That whistle is for emergencies only." "Dad, I know. This was an emergency. The lady was bad news." Dad grabbed my hand and started running back down the path towards the house. I had to run to keep up. After I explained to Mom that the lady had a hammer and a screwdriver, I guess in her purse, and after I told Dad I was fine about 60 more times, and after Mom called 911 back and told them her daughter was fine and not to send anyone after all, even though I explained this was a police emergency and she should have let them come, and after I'd had about 10 lectures on how the whistle was only for emergencies, and I'd probably just taken 20 years off their lives, and Mom had finally explained to Dad that the point was not to terrify me into never using the whistle again, I asked them to come back with me to the henhouse. It was getting dark, and I hoped Henrietta had calmed down and was going to sleep. And I needed them to believe me about that lady, in case she came back. The henhouse was locked up tight, totally silent. Mom found the screwdriver in the bushes. Dad wouldn't help look for it. "Hammer marks on the end, sure enough," she said. "Like all screwdrivers," Dad said. But he did look at it. Mom put her arms around my shoulder. "Good work, Sophicita. I wonder what she wanted with that old thing, though. I can't even remember seeing it before." She studied the henhouse. Dad snorted. "It's been here all along. It just blends in with the rest of Uncle Jim's junk." "Sorry about that. I hope he didn't hurt your feelings." I know I probably should have told them about Henrietta then, but as long as she kept quiet, I wanted to keep her a secret a little longer. At least long enough to make sure they knew the lady was a thief, so they wouldn't just give Henrietta to her. I shrugged. "The lady went that way. It looks like she knew her way around." Dad looked down the path along the fence where I pointed. He frowned. "Maybe she's been hiding stuff on Uncle Jim's property." "Why would she hide her stuff here?" I asked. Dad shrugged. "Anything she doesn't want found on her property. Stolen goods? Who knows? Good thing I ran her off then." I won't bother to tell you the rest of that conversation. It has nothing to do with chickens. But I don't think they'll be happy to see the lady again. I'll figure out the rest tomorrow, I guess. Love, Sophie.